This was the scene 2 months ago to the day, June 14th, at what may have been the largest mass protest in American history. Millions of Americans turned out at No Kings rallies across the country, from big blue cities to small, deep red towns, all of them united with a shared message for the president. We won't bend the knee. Despite the turnout, Donald Trump has only expanded his executive powers and flexed with this federal takeover of Washington, D.C. this week. But the Americans who oppose him aren't letting up either. Ezra Levin is the co-founder and co-executive director of Indivisible, which helped organize the No Kings Day protests, and is now holding another national day of action this Saturday called Fight the Trump Takeover in 250 locations across the country. He joins me now. So, Ezra, good to see you. As we get closer to Saturday's protests, what are some of your expectations? What are you preparing for, and what do you want people to take from it?
Look, my expectation is that courage is contagious, and we've seen a lot of courage out there. The Texas reps who left Texas, broke quorum, and defied both Donald Trump and the ruling GOP party in the state to stop the gerrymander in the state, that took guts. That was courage. Now, the question is, how do you make that contagious? It can't all be on the Texas reps. We've got to do our part. Saturday is the part where we make it contagious. Saturday is the part where we show up and show the Texas reps they're not alone. They're not alone in this fight against Trump. So if folks are on the sidelines looking at what Trump is doing in Texas, what he's doing in D.C., what he's done to L.A., what he's threatening to do to Missouri and Indiana and Florida, and they're asking, gosh, what can I do? Here's something you can do. You can show the Texas reps who are on the front lines they're not alone. You can show Donald Trump that he doesn't have all the cards, and you can show up and push your own state legislators, especially you all in blue states like a California and Illinois, a Washington and New Mexico. Show them that you want them to fight back. That's what you can do right now.
Are you prepared for the potential attendance, the size, the energy and anger that may be there? I was at the No Kings Day covering it here in the city on the ground in New York. It was pouring rain all day. And still, I mean, I remember that morning thinking, might not be a lot of people to talk to here. And then it smashed expectations. I mean, more than 1 million. You probably know the number better than I do at this point. Do you think that's what we're going to see here? Again, a potential record-breaking moment?
Well, look, there were actually 5 or 6 million people who showed up on No Kings Day in 2,269 communities. But who's counting anyway, Antonia? What I would say is this.
Sounds like you are.
In the fight against authoritarianism, not every single protest, not every single action needs to match the scale or the breadth of the one before it. That's not how you build a successful opposition to authoritarianism. What we've learned from overseas fights against autocratic rule, historical fights against autocratic rule in the South and elsewhere, is that you got to keep on building. It is a muscle, and you got to keep on working it. So this Saturday's events, they didn't come together in the span of weeks or months. They came together in the span of days and hours in some cases. So I expect to see events in blue states and purple states and red states. I expect to see a lot of folks who weren't involved before showing up on Saturday. And I expect to take this momentum forward because Saturday is one day of protest, and then we build from that towards what will be the next big No Kings protest, which we'll get together sometime afterwards.
So there's one city that does not have a protest planned, and this was the case the last time around, too, Washington, D.C., the city that the entire nation is watching right now, in many cases horrified by the scenes federal agents fanned out. Many cases, particularly in communities of color, people feel that they're under a microscope, that they're at immense risk. Why no protests there?
Well, look, the sad fact is that Washington, D.C. is under siege, that this regime is occupying the city, and the D.C. has not had representation in Congress. There's nothing to gerrymander in D.C. because it's been denied representation in the U.S. Congress since its existence. There are not voting members whose votes counts. They do not get senators despite being larger than other states that do have representation. This fight against the power grab that we're seeing from Trump in Texas and possibly in Indiana, Missouri, Florida, elsewhere. It's playing out all across the country. And I hope people who are watching this recognize that it doesn't matter if you're in the deepest red state, if you're in a rural community, if you're in a deep blue state, there is a role for you. The folks in D.C. are organizing with groups like Free DC to push back against this occupying force. But we've all got a part to play. It's not up to each of us to do everything, but it's up to all of us to do something. And if we play our role, look, the house of cards he's built up, it's going to fall over, because ultimately this is a weak, lame duck, unpopular president who is not operating from a place of strength. He's operating from a place of weakness and fear because he knows his time is up. He knows his popularity is on the way down, and he fears peaceful, organized people around the country working together to push back. But that's what we're going to do, and that's how we're going to win.
I don't know if you've been able to see there on screen with you at times. We've been able to show some of what's unfolded, just videos that D.C. residents, citizens have taken themselves. What is it like for you to see some of this? You know, I've seen some of the comments on social media, people saying, well, at least police officers have been polite. You know, they've explained that they're here on Trump's orders. But when you've watched a lot of this, what do you take from it?
I have chills, Antonia. I have chills. This is not something I would expect to see in an American city, in the U.S. Capitol. It's not something I would expect to see from our federal government. And unfortunately, I think this is only going to get worse from here on out. We have heard from the Republicans that L.A. was a rehearsal, that D.C. is a rehearsal, and the reason why they haven't been militarizing other American cities is because they hadn't had the money. But they just gave themselves $171 billion for their secret police force, ICE and other agencies. And I expect to see much more of what we're seeing in D.C. in states all around the country, which is why it is so important to not wait until they are at your door to start organizing. People who are watching this and aghast and are shocked and get chills like I do, you should be reaching out to your community, finding other people who think as you do, and organizing. Now is the time.